Well, for more on Gaza's worsening hunger crisis, let's speak to Shaina Low, who's in Amman. She's a communications advisor at the Norwegian Refugee Council. We're hearing just how low emergency food stocks are getting. Sometimes we get these numbers, Shaina, and then it seems like the food stocks are kind of eked out. How does that work in terms of how aid organizations are rationing and distributing food and making what must be tough and heartbreaking decisions at times?
Of course. The Norwegian Refugee Council actually does not provide food assistance in Gaza, but what we've been hearing from partners is that they're working to distribute as quickly as they can, because despite the fact that there's no sign of new supplies coming in, because the needs are so desperate. There's discussions that in the next couple of days, bakeries could shut down. This is a combination of lack of flour and also lack of fuel. For more than 3 weeks, no aid, including fuel, has entered Gaza. And so the entire humanitarian response, which is powered by this fuel, will likely come to a standstill in the coming days and weeks.
And in terms of alternatives, of course, there are markets that, as we were seeing, prices are much higher, but they are still open. But we also know that much of Gaza's agricultural land has been shelled or damaged. Many of its cattle and livestock were killed in the previous bout of the conflict before the ceasefire. So what kind of alternatives and what are people doing to find food?
There's very little alternatives. Gaza's food production has been decimated. There is some food available on the local market, but as was indicated in that report, much of it is out of reach of people because they simply do not have any money after 18 months of hostilities. And so people are coping with whatever they can find. They are relying on soup kitchens, on charities, on humanitarian agencies that are providing food, but the supplies are rapidly dwindling.
We're also hearing from Stefan Dujarric there that it's, of course, not just food, although food is always the most critical thing, but it's also other supplies. You've mentioned fuel, but things like tents and shelters, which have become critical again, given that we know more than 100,000 people have been displaced in the last few days alone.
As of yesterday, the site management cluster estimated that 185,000 Palestinians have been displaced since Israel broke the ceasefire last Tuesday. And so these people, many of them are fleeing with only what they can carry. Sometimes that's just their own relatives, children, elderly. And so they are showing up at displacement sites empty-handed. Some people have been able to bring tents with them, but the needs are far surpassing what supplies are in stock. As of now, there are only a few thousand tents that are available for distribution. Many of them are inaccessible to shelter actors due to Israel's ongoing bombardment and the fact that humanitarians cannot get assurances or even notify Israeli authorities when they intend to go to areas where their tents may be. So many organizations have had to reduce their operations despite the fact that needs are growing, because it's an unsafe environment, not only for Palestinian civilians, of course, but also for humanitarian actors who are trying to alleviate some of the suffering.
Okay, Shaina Low from the Norwegian Refugee Council on the persistent, challenging situation in Gaza. Thank you so much for joining us again on the NewsHour.